Of all the investments made in acquiring businesses in Blair County, perhaps none has paid greater dividends than the $5,000 that Mike DeVoris paid for half ownership of a small electrical contracting business during the 1950s. To say that the Blair Sign Company was born of humble beginnings would be a vast understatement. No one would appreciate that any more than Don DeVoris, who returned to Altoona in 1959 to operate his father's business. The Blair Electric Service Company, the name which Don had chosen to set the company in motion, was geared toward tackling large industrial wiring jobs. And successful ventures in the West Indies, and with companies like Appleton Paper, helped the business to grow. In 1968, Don acquired TelPower Incorporated, another small electrical company. At that time, TelPower had an employee who made magnetic vehicle signs. So, Blair Electric began to include this limited signage as part of its expanding business. 2 years later, an office worker at Blair Electric suggested to Don that he meet her nephew, Steve Pellegrini, who was a sign painter with a fairly extensive apprentice background in sign making. That meeting changed everything. Don wanted to delve more aggressively into the sign business. Steve wanted the opportunity to take a business and make it grow. Together, they founded Blair Sign. One of the company's first clients was a Logan Valley Mall business called Susie Boutique. Susie Boutique was part of a chain of stores located in several malls. After contracting with Blair Sign to provide signage for the Altoona store, it was decided to have the same signs produced for the other stores as well. The increased exposure didn't exactly create an explosion of new business overnight, but it did catch the fancy of Sam Mineo, then Vice President of Construction, later CEO of General Nutrition Centers in Pittsburgh. 5 months after their initial conversation, Mineo invited Steve to come to Pittsburgh to discuss a business proposition. It turned out that GNC was planning to build more than 100 new stores a year for the next 5 years, and he wanted Blair to build the signs. He showed Steve the specifics of how GNC built their signs, and, following discussions with Don, Steve told Mineo that Blair would give it a try. From 1975 to 1980, Blair Sign grew by 50% per year, due in large part to a similar growth in the number of shopping malls nationally. Sales plateaued from 1980 to 1984 until Blair received a visit from Cummings International, which contracted with the company to produce signs for Gulf Oil. That affiliation with Cummings, one of the largest sign companies in the world at that time, brought a new level of sophistication to Blair's manufacturing methods and quality. What it also brought were contacts with Texaco, Infiniti, Chevron, Holiday Inn, and Chrysler, to name just a few. At the end of 1989, Don's son Philip started working with Ron to computerize Blair's production control. Philip was working in New York City at the time, so the computerization process was taking place over the telephone. With the shopping mall expansion boom ending, Blair Sign began looking for a new source of potential growth. Blair hired its first outside salesman, who brought in the TGI Friday account, marking the company's first venture into the realm of larger pylon-type signs. At about the same time, Steve and Ron landed a project with Marlboro to begin building 60-foot backlit billboards. A manufacturing company is both limited and defined by the facilities it occupies, and Blair has seen its share of buildings. In 1975, Blair Sign used 8,000 square feet in Bellwood. In 1980, they began using a few floors of a 45,000 square foot 5-story garage building on 13th Avenue in Altoona. In 1984, Blair bought the 40,000 square foot Marhofer Bakery on 28th Street, and finally moved out of Bellwood completely in 1990. After 30 years of making do with a hodgepodge of buildings, in 1997, Blair bought a 150,000 square foot building on Kissel Avenue and moved the entire operation under one roof for the first time in 17 years. As Blair Sign prepares for the years ahead, its mission is very simple: to be the best manufacturer of signage in the United States. They plan to accomplish that goal through innovation, honesty, hard work, and dedication, while striving to meet the changing needs of the customer.